Detox is one of those buzzwords you will inevitably come across if you research topics like health and nutrition for more than 5 minutes. There are both people who say detoxing harmful substances has changed their lives, as well as others who say it's a scam and all you're doing is wasting your hard earned money. So, who's right? And if detox does exist, how do you do it correctly? That's what I want to talk about in this video. More specifically, we will cover the scientific basis of detox or lack thereof, to answer the question if detox is a pseudoscience, why most detox advice is useless, such as most juice cleanses or detox diets, and what actually works to get rid of harmful substances like heavy metals, plastics, and endocrine disruptors. Let's start by discussing the legitimacy of detoxification. Does this concept even exist, and is it supported by scientific evidence? The short answer is yes and no. What is true is that the terms detox and detoxification are often used vaguely and are linked to an industry full of snake oil salesmen that promise to solve all your health problems if you just buy their products, sometimes with very bad results, such as in the case of a 47-year-old woman who decided to do a New Year's detox and wound up in intensive care. She basically overdosed on herbal remedies, which crashed her electrolyte levels. Because of cases like these, and to inform the general public, many doctors have come forward and have openly stated that detox is a scam. One of my favorite science-based websites, examine.com, for example, even has a page dedicated to the question, do you need to detox? It states that detox diets aren't supported by toxicological mechanisms or trial evidence, and they can occasionally be dangerous. Other articles, such as this one from The Guardian, even go one step further and say there's no such thing as detoxing. In medical terms, it's a nonsense. What detox critics also rightly point out is that many companies try to fool you with exaggerated health claims. For example, an often cited 2009 report where scientists contacted the manufacturers of detox products showed that they often couldn't show evidence for their marketing claims and even had a hard time defining the term toxin. So when you're presented with all of this, it really seems like detoxification is a scam, right? Why then did I say in the beginning that the short answer to its legitimacy is yes and no? Because the detox critics often go too far and sometimes make claims that are just as misleading as those made by scammy detox gurus. For example, the Guardian article I just showed you quotes Edzard Ernst, a former medical professor from Exeter University, who says, "Let's be clear, there are two types of detox. One is respectable and the other isn't. The respectable one is the medical treatment of people with life-threatening addictions. The other is the word being hijacked by entrepreneurs, quacks, and charlatans to sell you a bogus treatment that allegedly detoxifies your body of toxins you're supposed to have accumulated." His quote and the rest of the article heavily imply that the concept of legitimate detox doesn't exist as a whole, at least outside of the detoxification of illegal substances. That is demonstrably false. For instance, it is widely recognized that harmful substances, either from the environment, such as persistent organic pollutants and heavy metals, or from the body's own metabolic processes, such as reactive oxygen species, need to be efficiently eliminated or neutralized to ensure optimal health. Just because most marketers can't name these substances doesn't mean they don't exist. Also, the biochemical pathways for their elimination are clearly explained in the literature, and we will go over them later in the video. So saying detox doesn't exist outside of ridding your body of illegal substances is a dramatic oversimplification that you wouldn't expect from a medical professor. Fortunately, most other critics are more nuanced. They usually admit that chronic overexposure of unwanted substances can lead to bioaccumulation in the organs and fatty tissue. But more often than not, this is followed up by them saying something along the lines of, "Don't worry about it, your liver and kidneys work nonstop to get rid of harmful things. And if you follow a standard, somewhat healthy diet, this process works perfectly fine." Unfortunately, this is also an oversimplification. Yes, if you're young, healthy, and have optimal nutrient levels, detoxification is a natural and automatic process in your body. But just because it works well for some people doesn't mean it works well for everyone. Many people have undiagnosed nutrient deficiencies that don't show up on normal tests. I talk about this in more detail in my video discussing the issues with standard nutrient blood testing. Also, depending on where you live and what you eat, you will be exposed to so many problematic substances that you're really testing the limits of your liver function. For example, simply by overeating larger fish, such as tuna, you will already be increasing your mercury intake quite a bit. And high levels of toxic metals like mercury have been shown to potentially accumulate in the body and are directly linked to reduced liver function, cardiovascular disease, and neurological problems. Another example of environmental toxins would be microplastics, which have recently been discovered in human tissue for the first time, especially in those with compromised liver function. Now, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should never eat fish or that you will instantly die from too much plastic. What I am saying is that depending on your genetics, nutrient status, and current health, simple lifestyle choices such as your diet can definitely impact your ability to eliminate toxins, both in positive as well as in negative ways. Unfortunately, most of the discussion on the legitimacy of detoxification seems to be between its most extreme critics and its most extreme proponents. On the one hand, you have people like the aforementioned professor who go too far and pretty much reject the entire existence of detox, and on the other, you have those that believe it is the cure for any disease under the sun. This is probably a reflection of our time, since the internet and social media encourage extreme opinions and tend to overlook nuance. I personally believe the truth lies somewhere in the middle, and the real benefits for your health and well-being are found in the gray areas. Really, all I wanted to point out in this first part of the video was that even though most detox advice out there is bad, the overall concept is still valid and can be extremely helpful when done right. Which brings me to the second part of this video. How do you detox correctly? Probably the first thing to note here is that proper detoxification is not a 10-day juice cleanse or some exotic 4-week diet. It's more of a lifestyle that you should follow long-term and that consists of 3 important pillars. Let me go over them one by one. Pillar 1 is to reduce toxin exposure. Like I said before, depending on where you live and what you do, reducing your toxin exposure can make a huge difference. This can include things like reducing your exposure to airborne pollutants like smoke, smog, and chemical fumes, or limiting your contact with environmental toxins like pesticides, heavy metals, and plastics. Explaining how exactly to do this for every item on this list would make this video too long. So if you suspect that your exposure to one or more of them is high, definitely research ways of avoiding them. Sometimes this can be as easy as putting up more plants in your apartment, while other times you might need to make some adjustments to your diet, lifestyle, or body care routine. Pillar 2 consists of strengthening your body's detoxification pathways. This is where things get interesting because it's the actual biochemistry that explains how exactly your body eliminates unwanted substances, at least when everything works as it's supposed to. As you probably already know, your liver is the most important player here, and I go over the various phases of liver detoxification in more detail in a different video. Let me now give you a quick summary if you haven't watched it. The elimination of toxins basically works in 3 phases, called, well, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Very creative, I know. In phase 1, the liver does 2 things. It breaks down harmful substances into smaller molecules, just like breaking down food for digestion, and it makes these substances somewhat water-soluble in order to enter phase 2. This is done through the help of so-called cytochrome P450 enzymes, and the chemical reactions they trigger are all a good thing that you want to happen. But sometimes the intermediate molecules from phase 1 are more dangerous or reactive than the original toxin, which is why you want to make sure your body can quickly and efficiently process the intermediate molecules to phase 2. Because in phase 2, these compounds are made less toxic and even more water-soluble, and this is achieved by binding them to other substances. Depending on the toxin and what it is bound to, your liver will use a different detox pathway. The most important ones are sulfation, glucuronidation, glutathione conjugation, amino acid conjugation, acetylation, and methylation. Again, if you want to know more about the specifics of each pathway, please watch my liver detox video. Once phase 2 is done, phase 3 starts, which is all about transportation. It mainly refers to the transport of phase 2 conjugates either to your kidneys for further filtration, after which you pee them out, or the toxins will be mixed with your bile, after which they are eliminated through your stool. Okay, now that you have a good understanding of the 3 basic detox phases, we get to the million-dollar question. How do you support or improve them? What you have to understand is that all these biochemical pathways are nutrient dependent. They all require different vitamins, minerals, or amino acids that we can use to enhance your liver function and to make the elimination of harmful substances as simple and easy as possible for your body. Here is a list of the most important nutrients for each phase. Phase 1 is mostly dependent on B vitamins, especially B6. Phase 2 can be supported with amino acids, especially glycine, cysteine, glutamic acid, or methionine. And in phase 3, you want to focus on anything that aids digestion and bile production, which would be fiber, for example, or taurine, which is an amino acid that is very important for bile production. Understanding the close relationship between proper liver detoxification and nutrients also explains why most standard detox advice doesn't work. Your body needs these nutrients on a continual basis every day. Following a specific week-long detox diet does nothing to fix potential deficiencies and could even make them worse. Instead, you want to go at this slow and with a trained professional. For example, a common mistake is that people upregulate their phase 1 detox by taking a high-dose vitamin B complex, but don't have enough nutrients for phase 2. So the harmful intermediates will stay in their system and can cause things like headaches, fatigue, or other side effects. Having someone to guide you through the process step by step is crucial. And I have a list of coaches that I recommend to beginners. They monitor the progress of their clients and often report that once the toxin exposure is lowered and the nutrient deficiencies are fixed, things like heavy metals start to come out, which can be seen on their lab reports. Now, before I wrap up this video, let me quickly talk about one last important pillar of detoxification that unfortunately is often overlooked. It's relaxation. You see, all the processes I just talked about only work properly if your body is in a parasympathetic state, meaning you are relaxed and calm. Our autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for all the automatic functions in our body like heartbeat, digestion, and also detoxification, can be divided into 2 main branches: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Most people overuse their sympathetic nervous system, which is activated every time they experience stress. Since basically everyone in the modern world suffers from too much stress, over time this can lead to sympathetic dominance, where you're constantly stuck in fight or flight and rarely activate your parasympathetic nervous system necessary for rest, recovery, and detoxification. The importance of relaxation for detox is also part of the reason why calming activities like meditation or mindfulness come with benefits not just for your psyche, but also for your body, which has been clearly documented in many studies. Many chronic fatigue programs, like amygdala retraining programs, take advantage of this and have you start training your parasympathetic reflexes before even looking at anything else, like nutrition or supplements. Great, by now we're at the end of this video. I did my best to summarize the most important aspects of proper detoxification and also wanted to explain the disagreement between its critics and proponents that I so often observe in discussions on and offline. Again, I believe the biggest gains in terms of health and well-being are made when we combine the insights of the scientific literature with alternative approaches that might be unorthodox but have been shown to work very well in practice. I hope you liked this video and I see you in the next one.